Hi guys, today we're going to do a fun color with me in book chat. Hi guys, so today I thought we could do a coloring book chat, so grab your coloring books and let's go ahead and get started. If you don't have an adult coloring book to color along, feel free to do your art project of preference. I don't draw well, so I prefer the coloring books for cool patterns and pretty pictures. It usually takes me some time to decide the picture that I want to color, as some of them are more intricate than others and take a little more time. So I like to pick the picture based on the amount of time that I have for that day to color. I also like to cut the page out of the book so I can frame it when I'm finished. I hang them in my office and or home somewhere, or give them as gifts on special occasions. The one that I'm completing today, I'll post it to the Reading on the Run blog and put the link below so you guys can check it out. And by the time I actually finished coloring this picture, I had over 30 minutes of video here. So what I did was I sped up the video and I edited out a few of the boring parts just to make the video a little shorter and more enjoyable for you guys. So I wanted to chat with you about one of my recent favorite books, which is The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. I bought this book during a book haul some time ago, and you could watch the video here on this channel of that particular book haul if you're interested. And I chose this book because I have enjoyed other projects by the author in the past, and this book did particularly well by making it to the New York Times bestseller list. The Reading on the Run blog usually focuses on memoirs and biographies or anything nonfiction really, so I felt like this book fit the profile for the blog really well. The author of this book, Tiffany Haddish, is an American comedian who recently, within the last few years, gained stardom from being featured in movies such as Girls Trip and Night School. If you've watched her stand-ups here on YouTube, you know what a riot she can be. In 2017, Tiffany published a hilarious memoir outlining her journey to Hollywood success. So if you've read this book, leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. I thought it was tremendously funny. I thought she did a wonderful job of really sharing her story with others and showcasing her talents as well. I found myself literally laughing out loud and at the very least smiling throughout most of the book. Some of the stories seem too outlandish to be true, but they are, according to Tiffany. She addresses this on the first page of the book, actually entitled Invitation, saying that sometimes she looks back over her own life and it seems unbelievable even to her that some of these things actually took place. Oh, and I want to note that this book is definitely rated R, meaning that it includes explicit sex scenes and language that might not be appropriate for younger audiences. And so as a comedian in this book, Tiffany used her talents very well to lighten up some heavy topics such as mental illness, illiteracy, domestic abuse, molestation, homelessness, and prostitution. Comedy and laughter are what she used to survive a very tough life. But if any of these topics are triggers for you, or if you are suffering from any of them, I have included some resources in the description box. Please reach out for help. The unicorn reference in the title pokes fun at a wart that Tiffany had in the middle of her forehead as a child, though at the time she didn't know it was a wart. She just thought it was an ugly mole. So the kids would tease her and call her dirty ass unicorn. Not very nice. And so she complained to her grandmother one day, and her grandmother took a closer look at it and said, you know, that's a wart, that's not a mole, let's go ahead and get that removed. And so after her grandmother takes her to the doctor's office to get it removed, she says that's the day that the last black unicorn name was actually born for her. So she begins the book outlining her high school years during of which she struggled with being physically and emotionally abused by her mother. Her mother suffered a brain injury after a car accident actually caused by her stepfather, and the brain injury resulted in something similar to schizophrenia, which caused her mother to beat and verbally attack her as the oldest child of the family. So despite these happenings at home, though, Tiffany was quite popular in high school. She used jokes and laughter to hide her illiteracy, at least until a drama teacher uncovered her secret. And so the drama teacher kept the secret, but only if Tiffany agreed to meet her after school daily for tutoring lessons. And Tiffany says once she learned how to read, she felt like she had a superpower and that she was unstoppable. And I thought that in that part of the book, I wholeheartedly agreed. I think literacy is just so important in developing self-confidence, autonomy, and one's own voice in the world. And might I say, that was a mighty wonderful teacher who spent the time after hours to teach Tiffany how to read, because she knew how fundamental that would be in her life. Later on in high school, though, Tiffany began working for a Jewish bar mitzvah company. Yes, you heard that right, a Jewish bar mitzvah company, as an entertainer hired to quote-unquote get the party started. And so through the hiring process, she learned more about her absent yet financially supportive father being from Eritrea and of Jewish heritage from her grandmother. She attributed this to finding a greater sense of self and learning more about her father, and it highlighted the importance of kind of knowing your heritage and building a personal structural foundation of beliefs and habits for yourself, and to guide your societal contributions. Of course, this part of the story has its own joke as well. If picturing a young black Jewish girl being the life of the party at a bar mitzvah isn't funny enough, Tiffany goes into a story of how she became the booty assassin by literally booty popping on an old Jewish man to an expected yet happy death on the dance floor. Tiffany Comedy's career started at 15 when the foster care system social worker required her to either A, find a summer activity, or B, go to therapy because of her consistent disruptions in school. So she chose to enroll in the Laugh Factory Comedy Camp, where she had the opportunity to meet the likes of the Wayans brothers, Quincy Jones, and Richard Pryor. While participating in the Laugh Factory program, she had to take the bus from South Central through Hollywood. On the ride, she noticed a difference in people and resources as she rose from the poorer neighborhood to a more well-off part of town. She attributed that moment, or those moments, to the very first feeling of moving up in the world. And she actually goes on to gain employment during this time as a comedian, which highlighted her natural talent. After declining her acceptance to NYU due to financial reasons at the age of 18, Tiffany quit comedy, and she went on to start at a community college and gained full-time employment elsewhere. She was only making about $10 a show at the time, and she needed to focus on kind of getting a roof over her head and food on the table, since she had aged out of the foster care system and essentially became homeless. The chapter dedicated to telling the story of Tiffany's family is funny and relatable in a sense that we all have off-the-wall family members, but it's also sad because it vividly painted the picture that Tiffany had little support growing up, and even, as far as into her early adult years, she didn't have very much support either. She describes her experiences in foster care, moving from home to home, and the love that she craved while doing so, and her willingness to kind of get the love that she wanted wherever she could. With this, it's no surprise that she ended up in a very unhealthy relationship with Titus the pimp. Again, you heard that right, Titus the pimp. She goes through this tumultuous relationship. It doesn't end well, and then she goes on to try and get revenge against Titus by becoming a pimp herself and stealing his workers and realizing she's actually good at being a pimp. She even goes on to assist the old Jewish ladies that she meets at these bar mitzvah parties to find secret lovers, of course for a finder's fee. So listen, okay, I had to reread this part of the book because I was just so stunned that any of this had taken place. And though Tiffany makes such light of it, but it's really, really heavy and interesting. Like, how do you go from bar mitzvah parties to becoming a pimp? And I guess, her life story and the progression of her life led her down that avenue. But the absolute funniest part of the book, hands down, is the Roscoe chapter. If you don't read any other chapter of this book, please read the Roscoe chapter, especially if you are in need of a good laugh. I also love this chapter because it humanizes differently able, otherwise known as handicapped people, by helping the world realize that they also have a need to give and receive romantic love. Though I hate that Roscoe had his heart broken, I love the fact that Tiffany gave him a chance and realized he had more to offer her than she thought. My least favorite chapter in the book is the ex-husband chapter, because it's hard to read and imagine domestic abuse and not want to do something about it. Also, as a reader, I feel like I made judgment about how clear the danger signs were prior to her marrying him. And though it's a heavy chapter because there are 0 jokes in this chapter and there's nothing funny about domestic violence, it's a very necessary chapter. It illustrates how past experiences can cloud decision making and the necessity for taking the time to heal from past traumas. The last 50 pages or so of the book takes the reader through Tiffany's long road to comedy success in the male-dominated industry. It talks about how she received help from friends like Kevin Hart when she was again homeless, and Jada Pinkett Smith on the culture and etiquette of Hollywood. Tiffany tells stories from the set of Girls Trip and even shares her process for writing this book. Her description of a quick experience with Scientology was really funny as well. After describing pretty much how she unsuccessfully tried to seduce Arsenio Hall, Tiffany goes on to tell us that though her life was hard, she continued to believe that everybody has a perfect purpose. Hers is to bring people joy and make them laugh by sharing her story. To show people that no matter how dark it gets, there is a reason for it, and to testify that it will get better. So I want to end the video with reading an excerpt from Tiffany's book, and I chose to read the invitation in the front of the book because I want those watching the channel that haven't read the book to get an idea of her writing style and what they're in for if they choose to read the book. And so the invitation begins like this. Hello, my name is Tiffany Haddish. I would like to invite you to read about a few of my experiences in life so far. I know that a lot of these stories will seem unbelievable. I look back over my life and I'm like, for real? That happened? Either you will cry or laugh, and I try my best to figure out how to do the second one. I know life is no laughing matter, but having experiences can be. They can be the best learning lessons. Just mess ups, but still lessons. That's how I think of my life. All of my wins are lessons, and all of my failures are lessons that will one day become wins. I decided to write this book in the hopes that someone will read it and feel like, if she can do it, I know I can. I am inviting you to read it because I never want you to say I didn't invite you to nothing. So come on in. Thank you for watching my channel.